Hey, welcome to ZooBricks. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Maxine and I am trying to build the world's largest Lego zoo. Now, if you saw my last episode, I started building the goat enclosure in the zoo. And today I've kind of got a little bit ahead of myself. I've started actually finishing off the fencing already. So I've actually finished the main shape of the goat exhibit. It's a little bit of an unusual shape, but I have a severe aversion to squares, especially in zoos. And that goes for the real life zoo as well. So I'll show you where I'm up to. Here we go. I've got this random shaped enclosure here. I don't really know what shape that is. But as you'll see, I've completely separated it from the rest of the zoo and I've flipped it around 180 degrees just so that I can see what the minifigure point of view will be when you enter the zoo. Because obviously when you come through the zoo and you come over that hill, this will be the view that you have of the goat enclosure. So ignore all that in the background and just focus on the goat bit. So I want this to be quite spectacular. And it has this really irregular shape, and we've got this little gate here which is perfect sized for a keeper and some goats to go through. The goats can't push it open, but the keepers can push it open from this side. Nothing spectacular. Now, in the last video, I was talking about different types of furniture to put in here, and I could build some platforms, which is kind of like the artificial enclosure style because goats love to climb, or I could do the rock formations because goats love climbing sheer surfaces. So I've decided that I'm going to go for the more natural appearance of the rock cliff face because goats love to climb on sheer cliff faces, and I'm going to build that up at the back of the enclosure like so. It's probably not going to be too big because obviously you don't want your goats to jump off of these fixtures and break their legs. That would be no good. But instead of trying to create like a huge like moundy thing in the zoo to kind of fit this weird random cliff face in, I've decided to do it like mock rock. And mock rock, for those of you who don't know, is an artificial form of rock. So Disney use it, zoos use it a lot, and it's basically creating formations in trees and rocks and boulders, but out of concrete. So they look natural, they look like they were meant to be there, but actually they're not. And you can actually build them completely hollow and use the internal structure of these mock rock builds to use them for storage. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. So the front fascia of the mock rock goat cliff will be on public display, and then the back and tucked inside of the mock rock will be like a little confectionery stand or a little concession stand. So people will be able to go around the back of the goat enclosure here. Obviously the zoo will continue on from here anyways, and there'll be a little concession stand tucked into the back of the goat enclosure, which I think will be pretty cool. And it's relatively near the entrance as well. Or I could make it a little toilet block. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a think about that. But yeah, the trickiest thing is going to be having to build it up and build this fence up on top of it as well. Because obviously the goats will be on top of the hill and we can't have the fence down here because they'll just go quick and jump out. Now, goats, obviously, this has got a single door compared to the otters, which has got a double door. And that is because although goats are a lot larger, they're not classified as a category 1 or like a category red species. That means they're not dangerous to human life, at least most of them aren't. So you only need to have them behind a single barrier, and you can have them without a standoff barrier. So that's a standoff is like where you've got an extra fence between the public and the enclosure. So with goats, it doesn't matter if people touch them. So that's why they're on a little thing and they've only got like a ditty little gate, farm gate to keep them in. So they're a low risk species. Whereas the otters, they're a slightly more higher risk species. They've got a double door so they don't escape. And the barrier is tall enough so that, in theory, minifigures can't reach in and get their hands ripped off. They're not that bad. But goats, you can stroke them. So anyways, I'm going to have a go at building this little cliff face. We'll see what it looks like, and we'll see what kind of cavity we're left with at the end. Right, let me show you where I'm up to. I'm pretty pleased with the progress so far on the goat enclosure. So basically, I have got the kind of mound that I was after. So this is the artificial kind of mock rock structure that I've built. And obviously with goats in mind, I've made sure that there's plenty of 3x1 lengths, which are perfect for the goats to fit on. So there's multiple different places in the exhibit where I can actually place the goats, and I think it looks pretty cool. And what's nice about it is that there's also still quite a bit of space here at the front of the enclosure where I can still put some platforms in. I need to put like a shelter with a hay rack in as well. So there's still plenty of space, but obviously the goats love climbing on stuff. So this will be perfect. It's obviously still not tall enough yet, because on this side, I have got some facilities. Now we have got a little cafe of some description with ketchup and mustard, but obviously no kitchen equipment yet, so goodness knows what you're going to put your ketchup and mustard on, but never mind, it's the thought that counts. The serving hatch there, and obviously here's a keeper for scale. Now the keeper will be raised up one more tile because I still need to put a footpath around here, so it'll be reasonably the right height. I don't know if I might take it down a little notch with that serving hatch height, but I'm pretty pleased with how it looks. There's a little door for the cafe person to go into. And then I've got 2 cubicles here for toilets. So, but there are no facilities yet, so I'll add that later on. Now, I didn't have any other doors, so these are actually windows. I don't know if they've come out of like a Ninjago set or something, but they're a bit fancy. So I don't know what other doors people use for toilets, but all the doors I've got are windows in, and that's just not appropriate. So these buildings are modular, so they slide right out, and the toilets slide out as well. So they slot into this goat mountain, which is pretty neat. So what I need to do is basically build up the rock work a little bit more and build some sort of like rock fascia along the top here, and then maybe just put like a grassy mound or something on top of it that the goats can hang out on top of. And that's it. So I think it's going to look like a pretty cool exhibit. What do you think of the goat enclosure so far? Everything takes so much time doing these things, and there's so many things to consider as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in once again here on the ZooBricks channel. And if you haven't done already, please do remember to subscribe to this channel and like this video, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.